Stephen Smith Davis, born 1910, died 1977. African-American engineer and educator. Stephen Smith Davis brought graduate programs to the engineering curricula of Howard University. Howard has long stood at the top of the nation's black colleges and universities, but as recently as 1967, its engineering departments offered only bachelor's degrees. Davis emphasized the hiring of new faculty members with advanced degrees and introduced programs leading to the master's degree in 1968 and later the PhD. As a result of Davis's work, Howard's engineering school rose to stand on a par with those of other major universities. Davis' field was mechanical engineering, and he held a patent for his design of supersonic wind tunnel nozzles. Davis was born in Philadelphia on October 24, 1910, the son of Stephen Davis and the former Rosa Elizabeth Norris. His father worked for the city gas company, and according to family lore, this influenced young Davis's choice of engineering as a career. Following the death of his father, his mother moved to Boston, where Davis went to high school at the Lowell Institute, which was affiliated with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Davis graduated from Lowell in 1933, and then went to Howard University in Washington, D.C., where he received a Bachelor of Science degree in mechanical engineering in 1936. He then found work at Howard's power plant as a boiler operator. His son, Stephen, told contributor T.A. Heppenheimer in a telephone interview on May 7, 1998, that his father's job had been simply to maintain the boilers that heated the campus. Still, the work had fringe benefits, for in the course of his duties, he met the woman he would marry. In the words of his son Stephen, quote, "She was sitting on a bench, and one day he popped up through one of the manholes. That's apparently when he first met her." Unquote. He quickly made his way from boiler rooms to classrooms, as in 1938 he joined the faculty of Howard as an instructor in engineering. In that year, he also became a registered professional engineer, specializing in heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Then in 1941, the nation entered World War II. This led him into a career in defense research that paralleled his career at Howard. Davis worked at the National Bureau of Standards as a mechanical engineer during the war years of 1943 to 1945. Here, he contributed to early work on the development of guided missiles. Such missiles were to strike targets under remote control, carrying out military tasks that presented danger to piloted bombers and fighters. Davis's particular project was the Bat, a naval missile that was carried by an airplane. The Bat had a television camera that allowed controllers to see where it was flying, along with radio equipment with which an operator could control its course. Launched from the air, it enabled carrier aircraft to conduct attacks while remaining out of range of anti-aircraft fire. It entered service late in the war and was used with some success. Following the war, Davis enrolled at Harvard University, receiving a Master of Science degree in mechanical engineering after only a single year of study. At Howard, this qualified him for promotion to associate professor, which gave him a permanent position on the faculty. But he continued to work in defense research. From 1953 to 1963, he served as a consultant and aeronautical engineer at the Naval Ordnance Laboratory, a leading research center. Here he made a useful contribution to the design of wind tunnels, for which he was awarded a patent. Wind tunnels are used extensively in designing new aircraft and in developing their engines. Investigators place an engine or a model of the aircraft within a chamber and blow air through the chamber at high speed. This allows them to study the engine's performance in the laboratory and to observe the characteristics of the airplane design without having to build or fly a full-size version. It is often useful to conduct tests at several different speeds of airflow. When the airflow is subsonic, less than the speed of sound, this can usually be done simply by changing the power that drives the flow. But when the airflow is supersonic, faster than sound, the procedure could be cumbersome. Engineers achieve a supersonic airflow by having the flow expand through a nozzle which resembles a rocket engine. In Davis's day, changing the speed meant changing the nozzle, which called for physically removing this major component and replacing it with another one. Davis addressed this problem by inventing a flexible nozzle for use in high-speed wind tunnels. By changing the shape of this nozzle, investigators could vary the airspeed at will, without removing the entire component. This invention was part of Davis's broader involvement with wind tunnels. He also studied temperature-resistant materials for use in airflows of particularly high speed. He worked on the development of air compressors as well, and co-authored a report on the topic that was published by the Office of Naval Research. Meanwhile, he continued to teach at Howard University, where he became a professor of mechanical engineering in 1956. Among some 100 black colleges and universities within the United States, Howard stood out. Its location in Washington, D.C. placed it within a major city, whereas many similar institutions were located in towns of the rural Deep South. In addition, it received funds from the federal government. Its alumni included the diplomat Ralph Bunche, who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1950. Yet despite Howard's prominence, its School of Engineering and Architecture, where Davis was a member of the faculty, offered a restricted range of technical programs and awarded only bachelor's degrees. Students can earn the bachelor's simply by taking courses, and while the coursework at Howard was more demanding than that of a high school or community college, a bachelor's degree represents no more than a step toward a PhD. It takes more than coursework to earn a PhD. It takes original research. Typically, a graduate student works with one or more professors, often solving a problem posed by them, with the solution representing a new contribution to knowledge within some field. The student writes a dissertation, a book-length presentation on the problem and its solution, and the dissertation is reviewed by faculty in that area of study. The award of a PhD then certifies that the student is ready to pursue a career in research, contributing to the progress of this field. The right to award PhD degrees is so important that it defines the very name of an institution. A university is qualified to grant this degree in at least some fields. A college cannot. Howard was indeed a university, but it awarded the PhD only within a restricted range of subjects, and these did not include engineering. Davis set out to change this. He started by broadening his own background, attending Cornell University in 1958 and the University of Michigan in 1959, taking courses in nuclear engineering. This suited his background in naval research, as the Navy's Hyman Rickover had built the first nuclear-powered submarines and was preparing to build nuclear aircraft carriers. At the time, there was also strong interest in generating electricity using nuclear power plants. Responding to these developments, Davis succeeded in building a nuclear reactor at Howard. It was of a commercial design and was incapable of sustaining a true nuclear reaction. It merely increased the rate of radioactive decay of its uranium fuel. Nevertheless, his son Stephen notes that, quote, this was the only active nuclear reactor in the Washington area, unquote. Davis also built a subsonic wind tunnel with a testing chamber that was 4 feet square, 0.36 S.Q.M., making it large enough to accommodate aeronautical models of some size. He became chairman of the Department of Mechanical Engineering in 1962 and quickly began recruiting holders of the PhD as new faculty members. He pursued this effort with new vigor after he became dean of the School of Engineering and Architecture in 1964. By 1970, his last year as dean, he had increased the number of faculty members with PhDs from 2 to 40. His colleague Lucius Walker, who succeeded him as dean, assessed his contribution in a telephone interview with contributor T.A. Heppenheimer on May 12, 1998. Davis directed, quote, the transition from a faculty that was degreed at the master's level to one that was degreed at the PhD level, unquote. Davis also broadened the range of programs, introducing the first undergraduate curriculum in chemical engineering at any black university or college. He introduced new graduate programs in nuclear engineering, architecture, and city planning. Howard began offering master's degrees in civil, mechanical, and electrical engineering in 1968. Davis's newly hired faculty members with their doctorate degrees expanded these graduate programs to offer the PhD. The first such program was initiated in 1974. Meanwhile, Davis remained on the faculty, stepping down as dean in 1970, but continued to teach until his death in 1977. In addition to his professional work, Davis was active in civic affairs. His son Stephen notes that, quote, "There are a lot of commissions around here that political friends of anyone in power can get appointed to," unquote. Davis knew the political leader Walter Washington. When Washington became mayor, he appointed Davis vice chairman of the District of Columbia Redevelopment Land Agency. Davis served from 1967 to 1975 and authorized the redevelopment of part of the city waterfront, adding upscale hotels and restaurants to the area, along with a marina. He was married on June 25, 1938, to Aileen Priscilla Harris, the woman he met while emerging from his manhole. They had one child, Stephen Harris, who currently practices as an attorney. Davis's professional distinctions included a Certificate of Appreciation in 1945, signed by James Conant, president of Harvard University, and by Vannevar Bush, head of the Wartime Office of Scientific Research and Development. Newsweek later described Bush as, quote, "the most powerful scientist in the world," unquote, during World War II. Davis enjoyed tennis and photography and was an enthusiastic sailor. He also became one of the first black members of Washington's exclusive Cosmos Club. He died in that city on January 15, 1977, of heart failure. Citations are in the description.